Welcome to Chiedza CheAfrica, the podcast that amplifies voices in education, science and technology, community growth, culture, and youth empowerment. And today, I am so honored to be joined by Moses, all the way from Nairobi, Kenya. Is it Nairobi, Kenya?
No, it's not Nairobi, Kenya. It's
Siaya.
Western Kenya.
Western Kenya. Okay.
Yes.
It's because we are in Nairobi.
Yes.
That's why automatically my mind was like, he's also from Nairobi. But Moses comes from Siaya, Kenya, and he's joining us today on this podcast as we talk about education, his journey in community empowerment, and the devotion that he has given his life to in transforming the communities that we came from, and also uplifting young minds that are brilliant, that don't have access to certain information and to certain resources. That is what Moses is here to really share much of this information with us today. Moses, welcome to Chiedza CheAfrica.
Yes, thank you very much.
We are so honored to have you. I wish people could know the fun that we have been having.
Thank you.
Before we really sat down for this interview, but yeah, we'll show them the bloopers. We'll show you around. So Moses, let's take us back to your journey. What inspired you to start Siaya Community Library? You are the founder. You have a background in teaching. So can you take us back through that journey a little bit?
Praise, one of the things that has happened with the government of Kenya is that we have got 47 counties.
Okay.
And before that we had what we call districts or provinces. So for every province you would be able to have money that is allocated for having libraries, for having all these big things. And for my specific district, which back then was Siaya district, for 60 years, we never had a library.
Wow.
So at my, this library currently is just about 10 years old.
Okay.
But this was, for 60 years, we never had a library, and that thought just hit me like, kids just move around, you don't have a library. And in my time, you would actually just say, we have got a library to go to. Yes. And so I thought about it and I said, why not start a library? And that is the idea that came, and we started building up upon a library, and that is how the Siaya Community Library became an idea. And we slowly developed it to what it is today, Siaya Community Library.
Well, you know, it's really amazing how you mentioned that for 60 years. That means for 60 years in that community, even the people themselves didn't care whether they have a library or not.
It's probably not that they didn't care. It's probably that maybe funds would be allocated, because in my process of having to build this library, I came to realize that even allocation of land has been given currently because now we have a devolved government, where the devolved government is able to like say what are the urgent needs. They still don't feel a library is an urgent need, like it's a basic. Yes, that is why it is not a government library. It is a community library, and it is the only library in Siaya County. You can imagine. I can imagine. Yes. So it's all government libraries are called the Kenya National Library. They would be under the Kenya National Library Services, under the Ministry of Education. So you'd get Kenya National Library, Kisumu Kenya National Library, Mombasa Kenya National, because that is the arm that deals with putting up libraries. So we don't have a national library in Siaya County. In Siaya. Yes.
So you actually taking this upon your shoulders to really say no, we can't, because 60 years without a library in a community, for me, it really doesn't make sense, because when we say communities, these are homes, these are where children first learn about the world. So when we don't have a library, which is like the first, because a book is the first ticket for a child to see the world.
That is exactly what I was getting into, because when you open up a book, it opens up worlds for you. It opens
the world for you.
So you can imagine me reading several books in my time, and these kids have never had the opportunity to even open up a book to say, I have a book, I can read from the book. That really hit me hard. I said, no, I cannot be able to just sit there and watch them another 60 years.
Another 60 years.
And that's how that story came up.
Wow, this is so amazing. You know, it's so inspiring when I get to sit down with people with your mindset, people that have really picked up something that is so vital, that has been lacking in our communities, because a library is not only something that offers books, but it can also promote togetherness, collaboration among kids and among people. Because if I'm gonna go to the library with my friends, he's gonna read book with a blue book, he's gonna read a green book, and our minds will sync together to see what happens when we mix the information from green book and the information in yellow book.
Yeah.
That is so important. I'm so inspired right now, Moses. So Moses, your background in teaching, can you also talk to us about that? It shapes the way that you approach leadership and community development. Do you still teach?
Yes, I am still teaching.
Okay.
I am what you call a STEM educator.
Oh, STEM
Science,
educator.
technology, engineering, and then now we've added art into it. I am much more involved in what we call technological education, where we're using technology rather than education has basically changed over the years. In my time, you'd basically as a teacher use the four walls. Right now it has really changed. There's AI coming in, students are getting into AI education. It is not what it was, what it used to be. And the reason why I basically became a teacher was I tend to think that this is as a result of my genes, where I was told my grandfather was sold over as a slave.
Okay.
And when my great-great-grandfather, not my grandfather actually, my great-grandfather was actually sold off as a slave. And then he goes off and he's sold off as a slave in the US, and then he sees what's happening in the US, and they're put in as coffee farmers and all these farmers, and shortly after Abraham Lincoln abolished slave trade, he's back in the country. He's like, there is something happening here. We need to give something called education to people. So he gave a huge piece and chunk of land just to put up a school that is there. For years it's been there. And so a lot of my family members, siblings and people within that genealogy have been able to become teachers. I have got a brother who's a teacher, a sister who's a teacher, two aunties who are teachers. We have got a huge family background of teachers, and that is why I said, okay, fine. I tend to think there is a lot of people who don't realize that a teacher is the one who opens the eyes of, do you want to be a president? A teacher when you get to be a president.
Yes, and it's a teacher that asks you that question,
so you see,
as well.
A teacher is not just someone who you just, this is the person who opens your eyes to so many things. Every single occupation, and we even say Jesus was a great teacher.
Yes.
You know, he was a great teacher. So teaching is something I've loved for a very long time. Yeah.
At one point myself, I also wanted to be a teacher. But you know, when you grow up, you start learning a lot of things about yourself. Because me personally, I love storytelling. So I think I've managed to keep that element of teaching by teaching someone else about my profession. If you want to get into journalism or media, this is what happens and what happens. So it's really important and also inspiring how you're mentioning that you are an educator to the heart, to the core. You fight for what's right, and you make sure that your community has the elements that it deserves to have with the library as well. So Moses, I also want to talk more about education and community empowerment. We mentioned that the book is always the first ticket to fly around the world, is always the first eyes that takes you, the first lens that makes you want to really see what Paris looks like, because it will be written in a book and there'll be pictures there. And you mentioned that Siaya didn't have a library for 60 years. So what can you really say is the essence, like the importance of really having these libraries in different communities, even in communities where it's still like Siaya, they still don't have libraries in them?
If you know, the world is basically going to open up to you as a community, as an individual, as a person, when you basically open up a book. I always tell people, read a book. It will always make a difference when you open up a book and read. Because what a book does, it opens up your world to so many things. Why are people so behind? If you look at in terms of what people, the knowledge people get, someone who reads a book and someone who doesn't read a book, two different things. Because what happens, your vocabulary gets better. You're able to that is why the word you're book smart and you're not street smart came from. Because books have got a way of getting to people. Books have got characters in them. I remember reading the Hardy Boys. I remember reading Tintin. I remember reading Obelix and Asterix. I remember reading The Beano. I remember reading Nancy Drew. I remember reading these books, and that is how my vocabulary, because the teacher would be able to say, can you spell this word?
Yes.
And my spelling was good as a result of me reading all this. When history came, they would ask history of Kenya. People like Jomo Kenyatta, people like Tom Mboya, people like Kwame Nkrumah, because I read these books. But they were in books. So a book just opens up knowledge for you that you cannot be able to get anywhere else.
True.
In an instance where you don't have any knowledge on things, a book will give you that knowledge. So anybody who does not have the time to open up a book and read, closes his walls to, and his world is within an enclosed,
within a box.
Yes, you cannot think out of it. Yes.
Wow, this is so. I hope the African audience, you're really paying attention, especially to young people out there, because most people these days, they are so consumed by social media, by technology, whereby you actually find that they're not even using technology or social media for the positivity of their growth. They are using it for fun stuff, to just scroll and watch someone does a silly thing or a fun thing, whilst you are still emphasizing the importance of reading, of learning through books, picking up a book, reading. Because I once had an interview with Daniel Matapola, all the way from South Africa, from SANSA, and he said that there will never be a greater power such as picking up a book. No matter how much we want to try to run away from it, reading a book will always have a certain power that some of these things won't really offer you, because a book, as you mentioned, it differentiates people. What I know because I read, and what someone else who doesn't read knows, we are totally different people, and how we relate and understand the communities, and also in how to actually relate with each other as individuals. So I actually applaud you for this. And to young people out there, yes, we need to keep, because from Zimbabwe, I'm from Zimbabwe, right? And I've noticed that the culture of reading books, it's slowly dying. There is certain groups of people that still read, still invest in books, but we also need to find innovative ways to make sure that people do keep the love for reading, because we won't get because yes, a teacher can teach you something, but that extra curricular, that endless possibility can only be acquired via books.
You cannot get anywhere without books.
Without books.
You cannot get anywhere without a books. Your background, your culture, your roots are basically in books. We've got two kinds of books, and I keep on telling people we've got two kinds of books, two kinds of libraries. One is what you call the physical library, what you're seeing, but there is this person who's a living library. When you go to your grandmother and you ask, Grandma, what were you doing in your time? They would tell you, we would light our fire like this.
Yeah, sit around
something
it.
and they would tell you the stories. So we were back to where you were, storytelling. So these are what we call living libraries. There are people who are alive, but they're actually libraries because that knowledge is kept with them. And that knowledge dies because we cannot be able to ask them as living libraries what happened in the past. We've got all this thing that people, what we were taught in my time. What was your profession before? There were people who were blacksmiths, and you'd be able to acquire that knowledge from your father, then become a blacksmith or a medicine person, or someone who could be able to focus the weather patterns and all that. There are all these are found in books. If you don't know and have an idea of what your culture is, then you don't have any roots, and those roots are found in books. In books. Yes. We can never run away from it. Yeah, you can't run away from it. We can't run away from knowledge acquiring. So I also want to take you. So I understand that you once served in the Kenyan Children's Cabinet to public, and also you were initiating public health initiatives. You have worn so many hats, Moses. I wish I could say the way that we call him Moses behind the scenes. So you having served in Kenya's Children's Cabinet, what experience or what are some of the tips that you walked away with that you have helped you shape the community that you're currently building and the projects that you're currently doing? One of the things that I would like to say, and probably this has happened with a lot, even with what you're seeing here. People tend to think that children are people to entertain us. You know, like they're flowers. They're just things, you know, recite a poem, sing something. And this is the problem.
It reminds me when we were young, visitors who came and our parents would be like, come and dance for them, play that song.
Yeah.
Yes, as entertainment.
Yes. So for years, that's what happened with the Kenyan government. The president is coming. Bring the children. Let them sing. Let them recite poems. So that, hey, Mr. President, it is good to see you. This is our school. We are here to see. And that is how people would look at children. And so we came out forth as a group of children and saying, children have got rights. We do have rights. We do have rights, and that is how it gave birth to this whole idea of us having a children's cabinet where we had a child president, where we had a child minister of education, we had a child minister of health, we had a child minister of different sectors. And so when this came forth, the Constitution of Kenya was just going under review. We requested to have children's view implemented in the Kenyan Constitution.
Amazing.
And that is how the children's cabinet became born. And I served as a Minister of Education until, because now, according to the Constitution, I was 18 and we were trying to get it into adults that when you're ready at this age, you hand over power. You cannot stay in power for a long period of time, and that is leadership. So when I got to 18, I had to resign as a Minister of Education, and because I had served in the Children's Cabinet, and at that time it was really picking up, and I handed over my seat and I gave it over and I gave it to another child to say, now you're taking over.
It's now your turn.
It's your turn now to take over as the Minister of Education. But one of the aspects that really came out, we were disbanded by the then President Moi, because it was felt like children of Kenya was speaking against government.
Wow.
And we were not. So one morning you wake up, and because we had made a statement that we feel the next president of Kenya should be a married man and should have a wife and children, and our idea was, when you're a married man with children and you have got
you relate
family
to all the needs.
Yes, of needs of women, needs of children, and you come out, and then the president felt we were talking about him. And so early in the morning I get a statement and I'm being told, Moses, you're being called to make a press statement on why you say the president of Kenya is not married. And that was not what I said. It was actually a statement, and that I had to go back and tell them, I said the president of Kenya. This is a title like king, like pastor, footballer, like pastor. I never mentioned a name. And more so, President Moi, then the late president, was a married person. But media took it out of context, and we were disbanded. And today we have what we call a children's parliament in every single school. That was the birth of what we call now the children's cabinet. It became by an act of parliament. We now have a children's cabinet in the entire Republic of Kenya in every school. So they vote for a president in the school, and that is an idea that today I look at and I see like, okay, this is leadership. They're learning.
A win is a win.
Yes. So those are years ago, the 2000s, I think.
But now the dream is now fully cemented.
I'm seeing,
It's something that is ongoing, and it's a legacy that you sit back and say, fine, I did something. I'm proud of that. This is so inspiring, and I hope that our audiences, they're learning so much, and they're also grasping the information that Moses is sharing with us today. Moses, I want to talk about the Siaya Community Library. Where does the legacy of the library, where exactly do you want the library to cement in the community? How in the next 5 years, because you say it has been running for 10 years, right?
Yes.
After we have had 60 years without any library, so what has the 10-year period so far that Siaya Community Library has had? What does the future really looks like? Is it something that you will expand and say we now have mini Siaya Community Libraries for people that can't walk the distance to where the actual library is? Is that something that is on paper?
I will mention something that people don't know. Siaya County is home to Barack Obama's father.
Wow, I didn't know about that myself.
Siaya County is home to Barack Obama's father. When Barack Obama finished his term as president, he came back
to Siaya.
Before him being, when he was a senator, he came to Siaya. And one of the things we had really thought about was naming this library the the Barack Obama Community Library.
Okay.
We had already thought about that. When you go back to, we are back to books again. When you go to the history of all the Constitution of the US, when you're a president and you've resigned as a president, believe it or not, a library is named after you.
Okay.
So every single US president over the years, you'll find Franklin Roosevelt's library.
Right.
Even Donald Trump will have a library named after him. Barack Obama's library, I believe, is currently being built in the US.
Okay.
Bill Clinton has got a library. John F. Kennedy library. All these libraries are named after president. We had seen that. So the thing is, we had thought about that this would be able to be called the Barack Obama Community Library.
Okay.
That hasn't left my head. I'm still at that level of Barack Obama, we call him our son.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are still thinking that this library, because Barack Obama this is someone who's actually changed the world. It's something we're thinking about. Libraries are changing very, very fast, and over the 10 years you've seen technology is coming up.
In terms of
we now have a section where children can be able to like use the internet. That was not happening before. These children would be able to just sit on the floor. We've gotten to that level where they're sitting on chairs.
Okay.
The number of books has gone right up from probably 5,000 to thousands of books.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Yes, it's now having a library membership. We've been having a lot of grants coming in, and it's building up. We have a website, people can look into it. Slowly it's coming up. The other thing is, okay, fine, we won't deny the fact that there's a lot of corruption happening. And in terms of saying that the county government of Siaya wants to be able to say that this is the library. And we don't want that.
But
that is why it's not theirs, you see. It is for the community. If the county wants to be able to like start a library, they should have their own library. They have a piece of land, they need to put it up. Those are the things that we're trying to address. There's the library is smaller right now. It cannot serve the capacity it needs to serve. So it needs to be expanded. We are trying to look for grants to do that. We wanted it to go to 4 floors. I'm at also that level personally where I feel I have done enough for those 10 years. So I need to hand over leadership so that someone can now take over. I feel that my time I have served my purpose and I need someone else to take over from there. So the next few years, I'm not so sure, but I am positive that with what we have right now, we have made a lot of impact in those 10 years. The number of membership, the number of kids reading, the number of books we have, the infrastructure that we've put into place, computers and iPads, and the world reader, we have done a lot.
That's really amazing, Moses. To sit down with you and learn these things, like you yourself, you're saying that for the past 10 years you've given it your all. Obviously there's much room for expansion, to improve more, but for 10 years is a lot. Like the number 10 is a big number. It's a big number that we can't sit on and just laugh about. And for you to have put in the work for the past 10 years for this community, for this library, it is really something that I feel so inspired, something that if God allows, something that I also want to implement back in my community where there isn't such access to libraries or more educational facilities. So you talked about you're still a teacher, you're into robotics, drones, STEM. Take us through that, because we are here at Kajiado and you were teaching. I saw you teaching kids drones, how to take off a drone, teaching them this part of a drone is called this and that. So tell us more about you into drones, your journey into drones, and also the reason why you do these outreaches as well.
After my forming the library, felt I have to go to the higher level, so I've put up a hub, a technological hub that is now called the Siaya STEM Hub.
Siaya STEM Hub.
STEM Hub.
STEM Hub.
Yes.
Okay.
STEM in terms of science, technology, engineering, arts.
Oh yeah,
and
there's now arts. Okay.
There's now arts in that. So first person to be able to get the HP Auto Robot in Africa and in Kenya. The HP Auto Robot has never been there. First person to bring a lot of ed tech into my continent, because I feel that education is changing, and that is why I felt, okay, fine, at this point where everything is becoming autonomous and people are into AI and drones are flying, I don't like our kids are just, when you
sit back
you look at what has just happened recently when Donald Trump wakes up in the morning and then he decides AI will be compulsory in school. It's the same thing being done in China, that AI will be compulsory in school. Everything is AI. And then you look at, in Africa, A still stands for Apple, where our children headed. We need to be able to give them that opportunity. Our youth need to be given that opportunity to get into technology and learn, because that's the next big thing. People are doing things with drones and farming with drones and agriculture with drones and entertainment with drones. That is what we were carrying forth here. And so I've gotten to that level where I've built up on the Siaya STEAM Hub. I'm seeing technology moving to the next level, and that is my big picture right now, where I'm trying to develop the STEAM Hub into a bigger hub. Right now it's got about 15 computers.
Okay.
We are trying to get these kids into robotics, into coding, into AR, into VR, into drone education, into AI, and I'm trying to get teachers into training for AI education, because I tend to think that is the next level where we need to get to. I tend to think there's a lot of people back here in rural areas like Kajiado and in rural Kenya who don't have those opportunities. So we've got to take these trainings to those teachers. Yes, we need to give them that opportunity to be able to experience how tech is going. Technology. So we need to be able to know how to develop that, and they can move forward, because we risk being left behind if we are not going to embrace technology. AI is changing every 6 months. Technology is moving at supersonic rates. So if we are not going to embrace this, Africa as a continent will be left behind.
You know, you actually remind me, when I was in South Africa, I went to SANSA, which is the South African National Space Agency. So the interview that I had there with Daniel Masipula, I actually mentioned the same words that you're using, that we need to look at the trends. We need to look at the where the world is going. As Africa, we also need these resources and this to learn this technology while they are still at the grassroots, so that we are not left behind, because we have seen the big economic power countries. They just wake up and say, we are closing this route, no more oil via that, we are going to close this and that, and Africa is the one that usually suffers when these big countries make decisions. So it was really emphasizing the point whereby we need to teach our children and our communities that we can do it on our own, so that when a certain country wakes up and say, no, we are no longer opening the route that carries oil or that carries fertilizers, we as Africa, we won't have to lose sleep, because we'll say, it's okay, you can close but we already have ours, because with technology we need because he was saying that he wishes everybody could understand that the only way Africa is going to really survive in the next coming years is if we really grasp technology as a strong pillar that can push Africa somewhere. And you saying the exact same words, I think it has now really cemented, even in my own mind, that okay, I have a lot of work to do as an individual. What am I doing to learn about technology that can advance my community? What am I doing to teach the younger ones, people around me, my friends, my family, could and sit down with them, say, guys, we really need to start looking at this direction for us to really survive.
We've got 54 countries. 54 African countries. And all of these 54 countries, out of those, only 2 countries have adopted an AI policy for schools. Only 2 countries that have adopted. 32% of Africa is still not at that level where we can, and we've got the sun rising in the east, setting in the west. We are still complaining we don't have electricity. Where are we going? Yeah, so there's a lot of work to be done. Yeah, and we'll get there. We just pray and hope that everyone who is listening to the podcast will really have the same eagerness that people like you, Moses, have, the same eagerness that people like me and people like Daniel, people like Tino, that energy to really build something for Africa. So Moses, as we close this episode with you today, I've really learned a lot. What is it that you'd want to say to someone out there, like a young African kid who feels like they don't have access to resources, who feels like they can't really do much because of the certain environment or certain background that they are currently stuck in terms of really doing something in terms of opening his or her mind to endless possibilities? And what is it that you'd also want to encourage parents out there? Because sometimes we might have access to resources, but then we also need our parents to unlearn
some of the things, how the world used to work, and say, no, we need to sit down and say, and parents also need to have that mind for research, to research for their children on how their children can be part of something bigger as the world keeps on evolving.
Rome was not built in a day.
It was no.
Rome, this saying was not just said because of for the sake of saying
it.
Secondly, I keep on saying, and I've told this a million times to people, I will say to everyone, I always say this, and maybe the way Tino was saying Moses and all this, when Moses basically is in the burning bush and God is there saying, what do you have in your hand? I have a stick. Use it. Get mad. And for me, get mad means make a difference. Make a difference.
Get mad. Oh.
Make a difference. You don't have to start big. When I was basically trying to get the HP auto robot, it took me 8 months to convince HP to get this robot to Africa. When I was starting off with the Steam Hut, I started with one laptop. When I started the library, I started basically with nothing. You've got to do something. You cannot sit back and just basically lean back. It is going to come.
No.
God is not going to come down. God helps those who help themselves. We cannot sit back and just basically say, this is going to happen because of this. It takes one person who must do something about it and keep on doing. My mother always say, fighting poverty is fighting it and doing it continuously. You cannot, you don't stop. You keep on going. So this is what you need to do. Can we be able to like get a solar panel here? Yes. How much do we do this? Can we get 10 cents? Can we get 50 cents? Can we get, what do we do? What is the next level? That is how you make a difference. But you don't make a difference by sitting and watching and putting up policies that don't work, keep on talking, going round in circles. You've got to act upon it. For me, that's the biggest thing. Get mad. Make a difference.
Make a difference.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Moses. As you have heard, guys, get mad, make a difference, be continuous, be active in the ideas that you have, because Rome wasn't built in a day. You don't need to sleep, you don't need to relax, because the world will definitely evolve and move past you as you relax. Moses, thank you very much for joining us today on the podcast. I have learned a lot. I think I'm not going to sleep today. I have a lot of things to pound upon.
Thank you very much.
And really see how I can also be part of the Get Mad initiative, making a difference within our communities for younger generations, so that they have something different from what we have, so that it won't be really that tough or harder for them to make impact. They would have a foundation that is already there and set up for them. So to the Chiedza CheAfrica podcast audience, thank you very much for tuning in. Remember, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast around, because you never know what this information might do in someone's life that you would have watched the podcast with. Moses, thank you very much. From us and the crew behind, it's bye.
Bye.